So you want to do better in foot champs, you want to do better in division rivals, you want to do a new formation with these certain players that you absolutely love. How do you go about doing that? How do you choose a new formation to use? What goes into that? Well, in this video, that's what we're going to help you out with. So guys, in this video, we're going to show you how to use virtually any single formation in FIFA 22. Now, obviously, there are going to be some that are just inherently better or inherently worse than others. That's just how FIFA is. But with these three things that we're going to be talking about, we are going to be giving you the best chance to use any formation that you want, dictated just on your play style. Now, like I said, we do have 3 tips that we're going to help spell out so then you guys can use these things when you're choosing formation. In fact, I'm going to kind of move to the side here so we can just kind of have this great canvas to use. Tip number 1 is going to be to utilize late runs from the midfield. Tip number 2 is going to be utilizing overlapping fullbacks, or at the very least overlapping wide players. And tip number 3 is going to be to create overloads. Now, I do want to make a note that there are specifically 2 formations that where you can still technically use these tips, but it's just not going to be very good to use. For example, 4-5-1, the late runs from the midfield, you can still do that, but there's only one center mid, so if you push him forward, you're going to get countered really easily. And then the other one is the 4-1-2-1-2 wide. So again, there is no center mids, and you can again still technically push forward your defensive mid, but seeing as though that's going to be a very defensive player, that's probably not a good idea. So yeah, it's still possible, but it is ill-advised to do that. So without further ado, let's go into these 3 things, shall we? Tip number 1 that we are going to be talking about is the late runs from the midfield. Now, we're talking about this first because I personally think it's the most important, and honestly, it just makes me really horny when I see a good late run from the midfield. The reason why this works is because 1, it is going to be confusing the defensive AI. Believe it or not, the defensive AI and attacking AI in FIFA are not good. I'm sure I blew everyone's minds. I'm sure no one knew that whatsoever. The other thing is that it's going to be forcing your opposition to be making a choice, marking you or this dangerous run. So then either way, whether it's the person making the run or you on the ball, someone is going to be open. So in this clip here, we have what I said initially. We have the defensive players here that are all taken up by my 2 strikers and my center attacking mid. They have to mark them or else they're just going to be free through the middle. Obviously, you need to mark that. The other thing is that unless your opposition is really on top of their game, they're probably not going to be spotting this run, and they're going to be more focused on the ball carrier. So look at who is wide open here. We have João Cancelo, our right center mid, going to be wide open. He has all of this space right here. Look at all this space that he can just run into. The defensive AI is not covering it. The opposition player themselves is not covering it. And so this leads to a wide open goal for us. We get it forward to Claude Maurice, and we have João Cancelo running forward. Even if he doesn't get the ball, this is still good because he's a decoy. Because if they don't mark him, he's going to be open. If they do mark him, then we have another player that's going to be wide open in the box. So again, you don't always also have to use them specifically to get them the ball. You can always use them as decoys as well. Now, tip number 2 is going to be to use overlapping fullbacks. Now, I know that's going to be scary to some people who, park the bus, but overlapping fullbacks, or at least overlapping wide players, can be extremely good in creating decoys, or at the very least getting to the byline and swinging it across for a goal. Now, the reason why this one is so important is because, again, it is going to be forcing opposition players, specifically the actual user, to be making a decision. Do they want to go out and mark you, or do they want to cover a striker who is going to be making themselves available inside of the box? And so in this case, we have our right back, Claude Maurice, making this overlapping run to down the wing. And so what is this going to do? It's going to leave Claude Maurice, our right back, or whoever our left back is going to be as well, wide open in space. And so we get him the ball here, and this is where the opposition player has to make a decision. Is he going to come out to guard us, or is he going to mark someone inside of the box? Now, either way, that should be good for you, because if they mark you, you can pass it inside for hopefully an open goal. But if they go and mark the player inside of the box, you can continue to down the byline and then sweat it across, because again, we all know that those are very overpowered this year. And so in this clip, he comes after me, we get it to Eto, and because I do a stupid fake shot and have 0 composure, we unfortunately lose the ball. So unless you actually are like me and you actually, don't have any composure, this is going to be a goal. Hopefully you guys would have more composure than me and you can put this away. away. Finally, the third tip is going to be to create overloads. Now, what I mean by this is that you either have a numerical advantage in the attack, whether it's a 3-on-2, a 3-on-1, a 4-on-3, whatever that may be, or you're putting so many players to one side that the defense has to compensate for that, and then you are going to have other players wide open in another spot. So this is actually the same clip that we used for late runs from the midfield. However, it's still a very good example for creating overloads. In this clip, we have 5 players on the left-hand side of the field. We have our center attacking mid, our right striker, our left striker, our left back, and our left center mid. The defense obviously has to compensate for that, otherwise there's going to be 1 or potentially even 2 or 3 players open on that side, and so they have to drag players out of position. In fact, these right here are all of their defenders, right? You have your left back, your center backs, and another right back as well. That means all of them are in that one singular space, and again, like we showed in the late runs from the midfield, we have this right center mid wide open making this run. Now, the last clip I want to show you is something that cultivates all 3 of these things, and if you think that I was getting horny from the late runs from the midfield, you have no idea what this is going to do to me. So to start off this clip, we have an overlapping fullback, and like I mentioned for the late runs from the midfield, you don't always have to actually pass them the ball. You could just use them as a decoy. And so what happens when I actually start this clip and we see this fullback going, this guy marks the run. The opposition marks this run. That means there's going to be free time for you on the ball. Next, we have the overloads. We have the right striker, we have the left striker, we have the center attacking mid. Again, we have the left back making the run. We have this left center mid. All of these players, again, are on the left side of the field. That means there's going to be all of this space for our right center mid to be making this run. And so the last thing in this clip is a late run from the midfield. We have the overlap from the fullback to distract. We have the overloads to almost distract, or at the very least potentially give us a wide open run in goal. And because all of those things did not work out for us, we now have a late run from the midfield. And João Cancelo missed because I did not take a touch and I'm stupid. Now, which formations do I think are best? There's kind of a template for the best formations, at least in my opinion. And those are narrow formations where you have overlapping fullbacks, because in those narrow formations, you're typically going to have a lot of midfielders, and then you can obviously have overlapping fullbacks that are going to provide width. So in that case, you have things like the 4-1-2-1-2 narrow, which is personally my favorite at the moment. You have the 4-3-1-2, which is a good one. You have the 4-3-2-1 as well. So again, you have these narrow formations with the overlapping fullbacks. Some other good ones though could be like the 4-1-4-1. You have the left and right mids that can either provide width, or you could have them cut inside and then have the left and right backs overlapping and then have a late run from the left or right center mid. You could have a 4-4-2 as well. One of the center mids goes forward, one of the other center mids stays back. And even though I said the 4-1-2-1-2 narrow is probably not good, the 4-1-3-2 might not be that bad, because instead of a center attacking mid, it's a center mid. So at least you're going to have someone making that late run from the midfield. Now, like I said, you can use any formation you want, but those are just the ones that I personally would recommend at the moment. So 4-1-2-1-2, 4-3-1-2, 4-3-2-1, those are probably the ones that I would stick with the most. However, again, if you have any other formations that you'd want to try, like the 4-1-4-1, which I know has gotten a lot of praise, I feel as though from some from a video that I had uploaded, then absolutely feel free to do that as well. Again, some of the formations are just suggestions, but the things that I would use to implement are ones that I would highly recommend. So that is going to do it for this video, guys. If you do have any questions over this video, let me know and I'll try to get those answered for you guys down in the comments. But like I said, that is going to be it. Thank you guys so much for watching. This has been DMG. Peace.